The records start in 1953, filed under a name no one recognized, Project Echo Glass. The documents were found years later in a forgotten basement of the Milwaukee Federal Building, sealed behind a false wall. No date, no signatures, only the symbol of a broken microphone and the motto, "Every sound leaves a shadow." The project began as a government experiment during the height of the Cold War. Officially, it was an attempt to study acoustic surveillance. Unofficially, it was about communication with the dead. They believed that every sound, every human word, breath, or scream leaves a trace in the environment. If you recorded the right frequency at the right time, you could capture more than echoes. You could capture imprints, residual thoughts, emotions, fragments of consciousness, looping forever inside magnetic tape. The lead researcher was Dr. Harold Hall. Yes, Hall, the same name written on Mahler's cassette. Hall's personal notes, recovered from a box of destroyed reels, described the first successful recording in chilling detail. Subject spoke 3 words before termination. Audio persisted for 47 hours after cessation of life signs. Tape continued to generate vocal activity without external power. Subject seemed aware. Hall called it the residual phenomenon. The goal was to isolate these voices and replay them, not as noise, but as communication. He theorized that death was not silence, only static, and that the right signal could bring the static into focus. But something went wrong. In March 1956, during Test 12B, a reel began recording on its own. The machine powered on despite being unplugged. The researchers heard a voice, faint, metallic, whispering in real time. It described each of them by name. Then it began predicting their actions. One by one, they followed the script. Hall shut down the lab 3 days later, sealing all tapes under order of Containment 8. He disappeared 2 months after that. Neighbors reported hearing a constant hum from his basement, long after the house was abandoned. When the building was demolished in 1979, no basement was ever found. But the Echo Glass tapes resurfaced decades later. Rumor says they were auctioned off with surplus equipment from a radio station in Illinois. A private collector, Arthur Jensen, bought a box of them in 1981. Jensen ran a small antique shop, one that specialized in rare audio devices. He cleaned and resold the recorders, never realizing what they contained, until his daughter, Mahler, found one in his storeroom when she was a teenager. The label said, "Test 12B, Hall." She thought it was music. Fast forward to 2015. Mahler returns to Milwaukee, moving into apartment 3B. What she didn't know was that the building had been constructed directly over the old testing site where the Echo Glass basement once stood. The hum in the walls wasn't electrical interference. It was a signal, a low-frequency pulse that never stopped transmitting, waiting for something or someone to listen again. And Ethan Miller did. Investigators who analyzed the tapes later found anomalies impossible to explain. The cassette spools showed patterns of reverse magnetization, meaning the sound wasn't recorded by contact, but by proximity. Something had imprinted itself onto the tape from the air, as if the room itself had spoken. Forensic audio experts confirmed the impossible. Ethan's voice was captured on the cassette hours before he ever touched it. When they slowed the tape down, beneath the layers of noise, they heard others, dozens of them, each whispering the same line, "Every sound leaves a shadow." That phrase appears again and again in Hall's notes. Some believe it wasn't metaphorical. It was literal. Sound leaves residue, and residue becomes presence. Hall theorized that the world is filled with unheard recordings, fragments looping endlessly in air, walls, objects, and that the more you try to listen, the closer they get to you. Weeks after Mahler vanished, a local archivist named Elliot Crane requested access to the seized evidence. He digitized the tapes one by one for preservation. He stopped after the 7th reel. On the 8th, the audio log captured his own voice whispering, "Don't let it loop again." He never returned to the archive. His body was found in his car, parked outside the old Milwaukee Federal Building. Engine running, cassette deck playing nothing but static. The log ended with 3 words. "They're still recording." The final surviving memo from Project Echoglass was unsigned, scrawled in pencil, faded but legible. "Recording does not capture life. Recording creates life. Each playback strengthens it." Below the note, a list of cities, all in red ink: Milwaukee, Detroit, Seattle, Los Angeles, and at the bottom, written recently, your city's name. If you're hearing this, it means the archive has opened again. Every word you speak near a recording device, every whisper, might already be part of it. The only question is, who's listening now? He woke up at 3:07 a.m. The sound pulled him from sleep like a hand gripping his chest. It wasn't thunder, it wasn't the creak of the old building. It was the sound of a tape spinning. Ethan sat up, heart pounding. The red light on the recorder blinked in the dark, slow, steady, like it was breathing. For a moment, he thought he'd dreamed it. But the sound continued, a faint mechanical whir, followed by a metallic click, clack, clack, like a key turning somewhere inside the walls. He got out of bed and approached it. The tape was moving on its own. His hand trembled as he pressed stop. Nothing happened. The button was stiff, resisting him, as if something unseen was holding it down. The noise grew louder, and then a voice emerged from the static. Low, raspy, male. "You shouldn't have listened this far." Ethan froze. The air was cold. The entire room seemed to hum, alive with a faint electric charge. He glanced at the wall clock. Stopped. Exactly 3:07. The voice returned closer this time. "It's not about me or you. It's about whoever's listening now." The blood drained from his face. The tape sped up, searching, then stopped again. Silence, and then a soft whisper. Female, fragile, familiar. "Ethan, please, stop." His mother's voice, but that couldn't be. She'd been dead for 8 years. He stumbled backward, dropping the recorder, but the voice didn't stop. It echoed through the room, no, through the walls themselves. Every surface seemed to whisper the same word over and over. "Stop! Stop! Stop!" He looked around and noticed the walls were wet. A dark film was seeping from the corners, dripping slowly down the wallpaper. The smell of rust filled the air, that same faint metallic scent from the hallway of 3B. He tried the door, locked. The key wouldn't turn. Then came footsteps from the other side, slow, deliberate, a dragging sound between each step, and a pause. Ethan, his own voice, coming from behind the door. The tape screeched with static. The lights flickered violently. Ethan ran to the window, but outside there was nothing. No city, no buildings, just blackness, as if the world had been erased. He turned back. The recorder was on the floor, recording again. A new tape was spinning, and on the tiny display, a date appeared. 11/08/2025, 03:07 a.m. It was recording the present moment, and everything he said was repeated a second later, faintly delayed, like an echo from the other side of time. "Who's there? Who's there? I can hear you. I can hear you." Then the echo changed. "Yes, Ethan, and we can see you too." The voice fractured, and no longer one but many, hundreds whispering in unison, layered into a single distorted sound. The bulbs burst with a pop. The tape stopped abruptly. Then, a soft click. A new recording began. Tape 002, untitled. The voice that spoke next wasn't Ethan's. "If you found this recording, it's already too late." The noise swallowed everything. Outside the door, the faint creak of it opening. then silence. The next morning, the apartment was empty. The bed neatly made, the recorder still spinning, and in front of the door, a small brown box. No return address, no label, only a note written in red ink. Did you listen till the end? The camera pans slowly toward the recorder. The tape stops. The red light blinks once, twice, 3 times, then stays solid. A soft sound begins. Someone breathing, close to the microphone, so close you can almost feel it on your skin. Leave your city name in the comments. Just a little curiosity of mine. Or maybe I just need to know how far this story has already spread. Silence. Then the familiar click. The tape rewinds to the beginning. It started with a box,